Hi there, welcome to Transcona Trailer Sales. Today we'll be walking you through your 2016 Jayco Eagle 27.5 RLTS. We are just going to start off the back of the unit. Right at the back here, you do have your fresh tank drain as well as a propane quick connect line, so it's plugged right into those front propane tanks. If you had a portable barbecue or anything, you get the quick connect line from us and just easily hook up. You do have 4-pin wiring back here, as well as a 2-inch receiver. Just keeping in mind there is some weight ratings for that. And then you have the ladder, so you can get up and periodically check your roof out. And then coming around to the driver's side of the unit, your bumper cap, you'll be able to just take this hat, pull it right off. That's typically where you're going to want to put your sewer hose after your first use. We do have a brand new one located inside the front compartment, which is why there isn't one in there yet. Taking a few steps ahead, got a couple fridge sewer supports, there's not much you need to worry about there. And then you do have the vent lid for your range hood. Whenever you get to your campsite, making sure you have it unclipped. And then whenever you're traveling, trying to remember to snap it back into place. That's just going to stop any excess dust from getting inside of the unit. Got your hot water service port. Main things you need to worry about is that pressure relief valve. That shot of water coming out of there, letting you know that the tank's full and safe to fire up. You got a 1-inch drain bolt right here, so if you want to drain the tank because you're leaving the unit for a while, that's where you would do so. Then coming down below the floor, you're going to have your main sewer outlet here. This is where your sewer hose would connect right up in place of that. Then you got your gray valve and your black valve. You always want to empty your black valve first into your dirtiest water, and then you come behind that with your gray valve. Typically a little cleaner water. Up top, you got your main twist lock 30-amp connection. You're just taking note of that notch there. It lines up with this notch on this side. Once you do have both those lined up, you can press it into place, twist 8th turn to lock it in, and then you got that threaded collar to really lock it down. If you follow the cord back, you do your standard 30-amp plug-in. Now a lot of campsites should have this and you can plug right on in, but let's say you have the unit at home or your campsite only has a standard 15-amp household outlet. We do include that adapter. Just keep it in mind, if you are using that adapter, it really is just to run your fridge and your lights. You're not going to be able to run your air conditioner on it. Opening up this guy, this is the first side to your storage compartment. You got a little sprayable hose to hook up inside there. You got your standard starter kit, which does come with your 10-foot sewer hose, a 15-foot water hose, and some other miscellaneous goodies, including that 15-amp park adapter. Then inside this compartment is where you're going to house your two 30-pound propane tanks. You got your regulator with your selector valve with the valve pointed this way. You're going to be drawing off this tank. If this tank were to go dry, you can switch it to the other side and start drawing off this tank. And like any standard barbecue, counterclockwise all the way, nice and slow to open up the flow of propane. Then coming around to the front of the unit, you got a couple different leveling things here. You also have your front landing gear control. Opening up this storage compartment for some more storage. Coming around to the driver's side. Inside here, this is where you're going to house that battery. Just got a couple screws in each corner. Battery disconnect switch on the wall with it in the on position like it is now. The battery is connected to the unit. If you were to turn it to the off position and pull the key out, batteries would come disconnected from the unit at that point. This is just going to be the other side of your storage compartment. And then coming along right to the back, you got your rear landing gear control, hitting the extend. Landing gear make their way down to the back, hold retract, landing gear make their way up. Sometimes they can come down at different times, so just keep that in mind whenever you are using it. It is mainly for stabilizing, they are for leveling. Got your stairs, get inside, just going down and straight towards you. They all fold out. Then you take your assist handle, push it up, fold it 90 degrees. It's going to lock into place. It will allow you to open up your door so you can take a step off inside. First thing you notice off on the left is that fire extinguisher, which is pretty much just like home. Pull the pin and shoot. Up on the wall in front of us, we got a couple of USB plug-ins. And then you do have your main fuse and breaker panel. Whenever breaker trips, it'll sit in the middle, so you do just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. And you got your LP detector right here near the ground. Since this unit is equipped with propane, if that guy ever starts going off, you're just getting to worrisome levels inside. So just turn off the main supply of propane on the driver's side there. Open up some windows and vents to get some fresh oxygen inside. Now up on the wall, you got your main monitor panel, as well as where you're going to find most of your switches for everything. You're going to have your water heater switch, so if you turn that on, water heater is going to try lighting itself 3 times. If on the third try it doesn't light, this LP gas water heater light will stay on. In that case, you just have to turn the switch off, give it about a minute, and then try turning it back on to try relighting it. It could be a propane purging issue, which I will go over when we go to fire up the stove. If you want to fire up that water heater on electricity, you can do it that way as well. The most efficient option is electric, but of course you're going to get hotter, faster water using gas. Water pump, turning that on draws out of your fresh tank. And then you got your security light switch, which turns on a little security light on the outside there. And then you have some exterior lights you can turn on, which is going to turn on that little awning LED light. Next, you do have all your slide out controls. Before we go there, we're going to go into the awning control. Push and hold the extend button. The awning is going to start making its way out. Once it is at its full extension, you're going to see the back of the metal tube and a little flap hang down. Sometimes the flap can get stuck, so you might just have to retract it a little bit and pull it back in. We're not going to be able to get it out all the way today. But now, if you were to take any arm front or rear, pulling in towards you, then you can tighten up this knob. That's going to change the pitch of the awning head, allowing water to now run off. Now, if you like that angle better, because it is going to allow for more shade underneath, you can do the same thing with the front arm, just making sure you do release them and allow them to go back to their natural resting positions before you go to bring the awning in. That way you don't run the risk of bending anything. Whenever you have the awning out, always making sure you do keep an eye on the wind speeds. Once they start picking up, you're going to want to make sure you bring that awning in. That way you don't run the risk of ripping your fabric or bending your arms. Now, if you went to roll in that awning while it was wet, not a big deal. Just try and remember at your next earliest convenience to roll it back out so that you can allow it time to dry off so you're not accelerating the growth of mold or mildew. And then to retract it, just hit the retract button. It's going to start rolling its way in, and once the arms contact the side of the trailer, the motors are automatically cut out. Now, next, we do have your slide out controls. Now, of course, before you ever go to run any slide outs, you're always going to want to make sure you know what's on either side of the slide, inside and out. The reason I do say inside is just because sometimes things do tend to shift during travel. And you are going to notice once we have the slide outs open, you got a couple recliner chairs way at the back that you're going to have to make sure you position a certain way so the slide outs can clear them easily and not cause any damage. And then, of course, on the outside, just making sure you do have enough room to go all the way out with the slide. So the first one is going to be the bedroom slide. Push and hold that extend button. The front bedroom slide is going to start making its way out. Once it is at its full extensions, the motor is going to wind up and just automatically cut out. So you heard the motors wind up there, so you know that that's that full extension. This little switch here, by the way, does turn on all the main living space lights. Then you get your second slide out room, which is going to be that kitchen slide. Again, just making sure you know what's on either side. Watching it to make sure it goes out nice and even. And then once you hear the motors wind up and the lights dim down, you're going to know it's at its full extension. So there you go, you heard the clicking, so it's there. Next, you can do your last slide, slide 3. This is going to be the biggest of the slides. And there we go. So now those slide outs are all fully extended. Now, if you want to be extra cautious, you could just run your hat behind each slide out, making sure that the slide out itself does seal against the wall, making sure you keep the water out. Now, those back recliner chairs I told you about, you're probably going to notice they got travel straps as well. Again, making sure they're strapped, and not only that, but also tight, so that way they can't go anywhere. So it's not going to cause you any issues when you go to put your slide out or in. And then just making sure they are arranged the way they are so that they can clear the slide out nice and easy. Now for the first part, we're just going to take a step right into the front bedroom. Light switch is on our left here. Turns on all the lights inside here. The lights are also on their own. Oh, sorry, these ones aren't. Picking up on the foot of the bed, lifts up. You do get tons of storage underneath. Now, You can store blankets under there like you see are already there, or you can store whatever you like. Nice little storage spot for something maybe you don't have to grab that often. You got a TV mount already on the wall here. You're just gonna have to keep in mind how big of a TV you get. It's gonna have to be pretty small so it has enough room to clear on either side. Up top, you got your plugins as well as some coax outlets in case you use those. All the blinds in the unit are gonna work the same way. They just kind of sit where you leave them. Back up, you got your main fire exit for the bedroom. You're just going to pull in that red tab. Screen's going to pop right out of place. At that point, you can take this handle, push it, hop on out of the unit. Now you're going to notice on both sides of the bed there is plugins and USB plugins. Great little addition. Just using those for your phone or whatever else. All the storage inside this unit. Tons of storage. Just being mindful whenever you're using it to be careful for drains, water lines, and things like that. You're not going to be wanting to interfere with any of that. So just be smart about it. Again, tons of more storage here on this side. You get access inside your bathroom. Now you're going to notice you got 2 sliding doors for your bedroom. Always triple check to make sure that your travel straps are latched, because if they aren't latched, these doors are able to slide freely and they're definitely going to damage themselves if they aren't latched and you're driving around. So always making sure you do latch those up before you leave. And then we can take a step into the bathroom, which has its own bedroom entrance. Now you're going to have a few different light switches in here. You're going to have the one on the far left, which turns on, I call it the selfie light, illuminates behind the mirror, makes for a great selfie, I guess. Then you got a little blue illumination light if you want to vibe out in the shower. And then you got the main light switch right up top. Other than that, pretty standard bathroom. Flusher down on the right. You got a towel hanger on the wall. Up top, roof vent. Lift it open, turn it on with the switch, turn it off, bring it back down. You already have a vent lid cover on here that the other customer already had installed, so that's a great benefit already. Now we can go back around and come back to our stairs here. Stepping on down, this is going to be the thermostat for the unit right here. You got a few different options. You can run this fan on either high or low, so that's going to be moving air around with the air conditioner. There's going to be no heating or cooling involved. And of course you would have to turn this over to the fan option. You got your temperature control right here. Turning this to the right would turn on the furnace. The furnace does run off propane, so always making sure you did purge the stove before you went to go light this, because this will only try lighting itself a few times before it'll just stop trying to light and you won't have any heat. So again, just making sure you do purge the system. That's going to go pretty much the first thing you do when you get to your campsite. Again, I'm going to go over that once we get there. The furnace does move all its air through the floor ducting you have throughout the unit. And there is only one fan speed. It just runs continuously. Switching that all the way to the left is going to be into the cool option now. Now you're going to have auto on one side, on the other. Whenever you have it on auto, it's an on-demand system. So depending on what you have the room set to, will depend on whether it kicks the air conditioner on or off. Once the thermostat senses the room's temperature, it'll automatically kill the air conditioner. Now if you have that on high or low, that fan is going to run full time regardless of what you have the room set to. So just keep that in mind. I do recommend using the auto. And then just back off to turn everything back off. Whenever you do fire up the furnace, it does run for an additional 3 minutes after you turn it off. That way you allow it time to cool down as an added safety feature. Fire extinguisher down there on that left. And then you got your main kitchen space. Tons of storage in here. You got your main GFI plug over here on this panel. Test on the bottom, reset up top. Always making sure if you have an outlet that doesn't work, this would be the first place you'd look, just because sometimes they do tend to trip. Microwave up top. Nothing I really need to show you there. Again, tons of storage all around. Underneath the sink here, you got a couple screws holding in this panel here. Now that is, once you take those screws out, that is going to give you access to a water heater for winterization. On the wall here, located in this compartment, if you lift it up enough, it's a little bit of a pain to get it in and out. You got this little counter extender, which I thought was pretty sweet. You just slide it into the corresponding slots that they give you right here. Once that's on there, run this little leg down. Make sure both clipped in. Run this little leg down. Set it, and then you got to tighten it to lock it into place. And then you would have a little extended counter space, cutting board, whatever you decide to use it for. And again, just loosening it to stick the leg back up, fold it, lift it out of its place, and then you can stick it back underneath here in case you weren't using it. Again, another little cool feature that does come with this one. Sink and counter space, pretty self-explanatory. Now, we're coming to your stove area, so we're going to go over a few propane notes. Once you turn the propane system off on this unit, it does allow air into the system, and once air makes its way into the system, it does have to be purged out. Quickest, easiest way to do that is just with the stove. The reason being is you decide how long you can run that gas valve. If you go to fire up your fridge, water heater, or furnace, or something like that, those will only try lighting themselves a couple times before they throw a fault code at you if they don't receive a flame. So if you don't know what the fault code means, it could throw some frustration into your weekend, which we do want to try to avoid. So that's why I always recommend firing up your stove first thing. It's going to fire up pretty quickly today just because I did have it running earlier. But typically it can take a few minutes, so just be patient with it whenever you are running it. Making sure you are running your range hood just so you are evacuating most of those fumes. To run it, turn the gas valve over to the high/light option, hit the sparker. It does fire right on up. Again, I had it running earlier. Sometimes it can take a few minutes, so just be patient with it. Now, whenever you're running this gas valve on, always making sure you are continuously hitting the sparker every few seconds. Failure to do so could allow gas to build up. Once gas build up, if the sparker was to spark for whatever reason, it could cause a small combustion, and your face is probably going to be nearby, and you're probably going to lose your eyebrows and eyelashes. Again, that's something we want to avoid, so that's why we recommend always making sure the sparker is going every few seconds whenever you're running any of the gas valves inside here, so that way you do avoid that combustion. Get the oven to go is pretty much the same thing, turning it over to the high/light option, pushing and holding that in. Now, the oven doesn't have a sparker down below, so you would have to take your barbecue lighter at this point, which of course I don't have on me right this second. Light right near that gas orifice, and once the pilot lights and is able to stay lit without you holding the button in, then it's ready for you to turn it up to your desired temperature. You got your fridge. Controls are right up on the front, all nice and simple. Auto, turning it on that mode. It's going to first search for shore power. Once shore power is taken away, it would automatically switch over to gas. Now let's say you're boondocking. You want to run it solely on gas, you can do that. Just flick it over to the gas option. Obviously, the fridge is going to go through a lighting procedure at this point. Right here, check gas, check if this is flashing. So if it were to fail the light, it's probably going to start beeping and flashing. Opening it up, fridge, freezer combo. Controls for both are right down below. Sorry, no controls for both. They're right here. I don't know what I'm just doing there. And then you get into your kind of main living space. This does pull out into a bed in case you were to have some extra guests. You do just have to pull up on the foot of it, pull towards you. This whole thing is going to pop out of place like a normal sofa bed at home. And you'd have yourself another bed. There's tons of accent lighting. They are on their own center push buttons. Recliners, kind of already went over that. And then, of course, you got your entertainment center and your little dining space. Again, accent lighting on its own center push button. And then coming into your entertainment center. TV already mounted inside there. Flipping this down, you get some more plugins as well as some coax outlets. And then in addition to that, on this guy here, this is the main coax outlet. Turning that button on turns the green light on. Now that supplies the antenna power on the roof. Now that's also going to improve radio frequency and cell phone frequency, so we typically recommend leaving it on whenever you're at your campsite. But try and remember to turn it off whenever you're not using it. That way you're not using battery power. Right inside, you got your little stereo system. Again, pretty much just like home, you're going to have all those at-home features. Plus, you have A, B, and C speakers. A is the front set of speakers. B is going to be the bedroom set of speakers. And C is going to be your outside speakers. Now that is going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.